What is up there, everybody? Citrus Aviation here with Aviation News This Week 89, and we're going to get started here with some very interesting news, starting with Hawaiian Airlines, as they have started service from Honolulu to Orlando on March the 13th, 2020. And we have some photos here provided by a photographer, and I want to thank you, Saul, for sending these photos over. I'm really excited to include them. And it's really awesome to see Hawaiian start up this route because, believe it or not, this is the first time the airline has ever flown Orlando to Honolulu. I know that sounds crazy, two giant markets in the US, but this is the first time they've done it. And so the first flight is here on an A330. As you can see, I believe this is a Dash 200 as photographed here. But this is an awesome flight, and I'm really glad to see it be added to the Hawaiian route network. This is one of the bigger flights that started recently, and we're going to have some more route news at the end of the episode because there's a lot of interesting stuff happening. And this shows one of the biggest trends in aviation right now, and that is to have routes to leisure destinations, travel leisure destinations, vacation routes, that sort of thing have become very popular since the pandemic because airlines have figured out it's the best way to make money right now. Because the business travel out of the United States, which was really what drove much of the aviation market for the last 20 years or so, really more, really the last 50 or so years, been almost entirely business being the main primary factor that drives customers and flights. But because of the pandemic, all of those services and all those flights and all the customers essentially all dried up just instantaneously. So airlines need to rearrange themselves to figure out how to make money. And so a lot of airlines are starting to do more point-to-point flights to leisure and vacation destinations. And I think that's one of the reasons why Hawaiian finally started the Honolulu to Orlando route, because they probably figured that it's not really making any sense for us to fly between two leisure destinations and really two totally different markets. People generally, when they're going for vacation, don't generally cross up Orlando and Honolulu because of the entirely different nature of those two markets. However, due to the changes in travel behavior, we've seen this route become a thing. And so I think this is a really cool idea that Hawaiian has finally started this route. I'm really happy to see it happen, and I'm grateful that the person who sent the pictures to me allowed me to use these photos. So yeah, this is an awesome change in the flight dynamics, and I do think we will see business travel return. I think it's going to happen here in a few months, to be honest. I think it's going to be pretty soon. But outside of that, I'm not sure what's going to happen with the leisure travel. It has been skyrocketing as a lot of the flights have been to places in warmer climates like in Florida, California, Texas, all kinds of interesting things happening there. Not much business travel. In fact, if you try to fly on a business route, say Nashville or St. Louis, it's a pretty cheap flight because nobody really wants to fly that route for leisure travel, and generally most of the people you see on that route are business people or people getting to their leisure destination, and usually those flights are not as full. So airlines offering good deals on them. For example, Southwest offering good deal on St. Louis to Nashville, for example. We have a bunch of interesting aircraft fleet news, and we're going to start off here with this new livery here for the Azul Cessna 208 Grand Caravan. And this is being painted in the Lady Azul livery. Now, some of you might know that the Lady Azul livery is one of the liveries that Azul paints on some of their aircraft. It's essentially the standard livery, but instead of the deep blue, that is changed out for a hot pink color, and it's really cool livery. They have one on an A320 Neo, they have one on an E195, some of their other aircraft have, I think they have one on an A330. But they've now painted one on a Cessna 208B Grand Caravan, which is pretty cool. Now this aircraft does some really unique flights that takes passengers to deep inside the Amazon rainforest and inside of Brazil, solving commercial services to places that almost would guaranteed to not have it. So really cool operations that Azul does on the 208B Grand Caravans. And I'll probably be doing a video for that on Airways. As some of you may know, I currently edit quite a few of the videos for Airways, because if you watch their videos, just take a look at the description and you'll see that I edited the videos for that. So this is an awesome aircraft, and I'm really glad that Azul painted his aircraft in the special livery, and stay tuned for a special feature of me on the Airways YouTube channel coming up soon. This aircraft is registered as Papa Tango Mike Echo Delta, and the picture was taken on October 19th, 2020. The aircraft was repainted into this livery, I believe, sometime in early October 2020. Next up, we have a new special livery for Kalitta Air. This is in the mask livery. This aircraft was painted in February of 2020 into this mask livery. As you can see, it's just a blue mask up front. This aircraft is November 744 Charlie Kilo. It is a 747-446 BCF, and this picture was taken in Hong Kong. Pretty cool picture here, and this aircraft is very interesting. As you can see, it's got some of the passenger windows still up top on the passenger section. So this is a former 747 passenger airliner that was converted into a freighter, which is really cool. I am not a big fan of mask liveries, mostly because I do think that the whole mask situation is not going to age very well over time. But I do understand why people wore it during the pandemic and such, but the pandemic is coming to an end. We need to move on, and as much as the mask liveries do fit the aircraft, like, they do a nice job of putting the mask on it. I just don't think it's going to age very well, and I do think this aircraft will just get repainted into the standard livery not too long from now. Next up, we have the very first A220neo for Aeroflot. This will be an A321-251NX, so this is the extended range variant of it. Not the full long range version, but there's 3 different variants of the A321neo. That's the standard A321neo. There's the A321neo X, which has some extra range, a few other changes to it. Like, for example, you can see the cabin emergency door layout is changed. That's how you can tell an NX from a standard neo. And then there will be the A321XLR, or really long range version, which will be transatlantic capable. I mean, the standard A321neos are transatlantic capable too, but the LRs are going to be specifically meant for transatlantic services, and there are already quite a few airlines that are interested in it, such as United Airlines and American Airlines, and possibly Delta Airlines. I would expect them to order some as well, but there's quite a few airlines that want it. And so this will be the very first A321NX for Aeroflot, and this picture was taken on the 5th of March 2021. A new, very awesome special livery has been painted onto this Bombardier Global 6000. It is November 349 Bravo Alpha, and this aircraft is based in Allentown, Pennsylvania, taken on March 22nd, 2021. Now, this is a private jet, and I did some research into the aircraft's history, and it actually has some very interesting history to it. So this aircraft has had 5 owners, the current owner in Allentown, Pennsylvania being JDI Holdings, LLC, and they recently got the aircraft starting on the 16th of January 2020, and then obviously they commissioned this special livery to be painted on. I think it's a super awesome livery. It's basically like a digital squares livery. It's basically, the livery is painted black, and then there's tons of these little squares throughout the livery, and then different shades of gray. I think there's looks like 2, maybe 3 shades of gray used on here. I think it's just 2, but it's really cool, really nicely done. Great job to the graphic designer who came up with this one. But this aircraft has had a few other owners. It was first sold to BBC Equipment Leasing Corporation in Long Beach, California. On the 2nd of June 2006 is when the ownership was registered. And then the aircraft was soon thereafter sold on the 22nd of September 2006 to CIT Group Equipment Financing Incorporated. So that might have been a lease, and that is in Tempe, Arizona. So this BBC equipment company might have leased it out to CIT Group. And if you're not familiar with CIT Group, they are very well known for creating rolling stock for railroads. They both lease and I believe they build some as well. The aircraft stayed with CIT for a while. before being sold to Bank of Utah trustees on the 3rd of December 2010 in Salt Lake City, Utah. Now, I do believe the aircraft was in fact sold to Bank of Utah because they would then hold on to the aircraft for the following about 8.5 years. So I do believe they actually did buy this aircraft. And then the aircraft will be sold to Bombardier Aerospace Corporation on the 27th of June 2019 in Dallas, Texas. What I believe this was it was actually sold to a dealership, an aircraft dealership, an official Bombardier dealership in Dallas, Texas. And then it was then soon thereafter, just a few months later, on the 16th of January 2020, licensed and registered for GDI Holdings LLC in Arlington, Pennsylvania. So this sort ownership of Bombardier would lead me to believe that was actually a dealership in Dallas, Texas. I believe that would have been at Dallas Love Field. There's a Bombardier dealership there, from my understanding. And I believe it was sold to them from the Bank of Utah, that they were no longer interested in aircraft, they got a new aircraft or whatnot, and then it was sold here to JDI Holdings in Arlington, Pennsylvania, and then they commissioned this special livery, and that is how this aircraft ended in Pennsylvania wearing this livery. So, there's some information I did from doing some digging and some researching. The final fleet news item that we have is that JetBlue has started testing their Airbus A220s. So, when an airline gets a new aircraft type, they need to do a bunch of crew familiarization and testing with the aircraft before it goes into commercial service. So the pictures that I have here are taken by a fellow photographer on Instagram. I asked him to use pictures, he said it was fine, he sent them over, and we have them here for you today. And the pictures here you can see of the aircraft arriving at Fort Lauderdale on the 25th of March 2021. Now that was not its first test flight. Its first flight actually was to Pittsburgh on March the 19th. I believe it flew from JFK, where it was delivered from Airbus, and then it was flown to Pittsburgh, and then from Pittsburgh it flew to Boston, where it then went from Boston to Fort Lauderdale. So there's some really interesting test flights that are going on. For those of you who are interested and you are at a city that gets JetBlue, watch flight radar closely, because this aircraft could fly to your city. I have a really deep suspicion that this aircraft will be flying to Raleigh-Durham. So for you fellow Raleigh spotters, check this aircraft out. Keep an eye on it. It's November 3008 Juliet. Keep an eye on it because it might be flying to your city. Anyway, I want to thank you so for sending the photos. This is an awesome aircraft. I'm looking forward to seeing it in regular service. But for the meantime, keep an eye out at your local airport if you have regular JetBlue service, because this aircraft might fly into your city. In fact, good chance it will do that for testing. The final news that we have for this week has to do with Spirit Airlines opening several new routes. Now, I have a lot of route news I want to talk about. We had the Hawaiian story at the beginning, and now we have 3 separate Spirit Airlines stories here, and then we'll have more route news I want to talk about in the upcoming episodes. But I'm going to do Spirit here because there's some interesting things happening here, and I'll link the 3 articles that I'm using down in the description. They are both from the Spirit Airlines press release section, and they have some new services. The first one here is being the official announcement that they'll be starting services to Pensacola, and these services will start on June the 10th, 2021, and they will be launching these flights on June the 10th and June the 11th, 2021. This announcement was made on March the 11th. So, what are the new flights? Well, they'll be having services to 6 different cities. So I'm just going to read off what it says here on the website. They'll be having services to Austin, Texas, AUS. Those routes will be 3 times weekly on Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. On June the 10th, 2021 will be the start date for that. And then there'll be some in Columbus, Ohio, CMH. Those flights will be 4 times weekly on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, starting on June the 11th, 2021. Dallas, Fort Worth, DFW, will be daily services, starting on June the 10th, 2021. They'll be having service to Indianapolis, which will be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, so 4 times weekly there, on June the 11th, 2021. Kansas City service, MCI, will also be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, 4 times weekly, starting June the 11th, 2021. Louisville, SDF, will be starting on June the 10th, 2021. That will be Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday, 3 times weekly. And then St. Louis Lombard Field will be June the 10th, 2021 daily service. And that brings us to St. Louis will be getting Spirit Airlines as well, and they'll be having 5 routes that they serve. This announcement was also made on March 11th, and they'll be starting service to Fort Lauderdale, which will be daily on May the 27th. Las Vegas will be daily on May the 27th. Los Angeles International Airport, daily May the 27th. Orlando KMCO, daily May the 27th as well. And then Pensacola starting on June the 10th, 2021. So some pretty big services starting here. And I'm really excited to see Spirit Airlines expand the services once again. Again, if you want to see the full article that Spirit Airlines published, the link to that will be in the description below. The final news item is an interesting one. This announcement was made on March the 9th, 2021. And Spirit will be expanding some of their services out of New York LaGuardia Airport. And one of these services is particularly interesting, and I'll save that one for last. But they're making several changes, and they will be having a new terminal they depart out of. So the airline has been using Terminal A as their main operations center out of LaGuardia. However, they will also be adding Terminal C, and those will be for the new Fort Lauderdale service that will be 5 times daily. That is existing service, but it should be expanding a little bit to 5 times daily. Some of the other services they already have are to Myrtle Beach, which is 2 times daily, Dallas Fort Worth 1 times daily, Detroit 2 times daily, Chicago it says up to 2 times daily, so I believe it fluctuates between once and twice daily. And then Orlando up to 2 times daily, so again I believe it fluctuates. And they say Tampa up to once daily, so I believe again it fluctuates. Some days they have the flight, sometimes they don't. Now the new services, they are beginning service to Nashville daily on May the 5th, 2021. That's pretty cool service because Nashville recently got Spirit Airlines, I believe in 2019, and then they're expanding service, which is cool. And then San Jose, Puerto Rico will be starting on April the 17th, 2021, Saturday only. We're going to cover why that is here in a moment. And then Los Angeles, Saturday only, June the 12th, 2021. Now, these Saturday only flights are in particular interesting out of LaGuardia because there is an existing law and essentially precedent that has been set that was started, I believe, at New York LaGuardia Airport, but has also affected quite a few other airports. And that is called the 1,500 mile law restriction. And so that is for secondary airports out of a city, is that those flights can only go to a maximum of 1,500 miles out. So this was basically created to protect New York JFK from getting too much competition from New York LaGuardia for long-haul distance flights, say international flights or cross-country flights. And so they put in this restriction on New York LaGuardia to prevent the airport from expanding too much to compete with JFK. So they don't really want competition for LaGuardia with JFK. And there's some other airports that have been affected by this. Washington DCA also has this restriction on it, with Washington Dulles being the main airport there now. So there's some other airports that this has also affected, such as Houston Hobby, which is the secondary airport for Houston George Bush being the primary, and then Dallas Love Field, which is a Southwest hub, just like Houston Hobby is, with Dallas Fort Worth International Airport being the main airport there. But I believe this also has affected Long Beach in California, whereas Los Angeles International Airport is the main airport out of Los Angeles. But there are a bunch of airports where this is the case, and you can't fly more than 1,500 miles. However, you might notice that these Saturday-only flights for Spirit are more than 1,500 miles. Well, there is a loophole that flights on, I believe it's Saturday only, are not restricted to this 1,500 mile radius limit, and I believe it can only be once a day on Saturday. So Spirit comes in, they're like, okay, we can add a once daily Saturday flight to Los Angeles International and San Juan, Puerto Rico. That won't be an issue. And so that's what they have done here. And it's a really interesting operations, and I'd like to see if Spirit does this at other airports or if other airlines try to do this well, because this is a very interesting change that's happening. Once again, article will be linked down below. And also, I'll also have linked down below a video that I edited for Airways Magazine, which talked about this issue more in depth. So go check it down below. It's a good video. Here we go. I'll just put up a card for it as well. So go check it out. So with that being said, that is it for the news for this video. And with that being said, we have some photos to discuss. And photos from you guys. I want to thank you guys for submitting photos. Once again, if you want to submit photos, the email link is down below. And the first photo is here by Epic Aviation 47. He sent over this photo of a brand new C-130 Hercules. This is one of the oldest, I believe it is in fact, yes, the oldest aircraft currently in production. Maybe the Cessna 172 is older, but other than that, the C-130 has been in production since 1955. Just think about that. That is more than 50 years this aircraft has been in production. And so here's a brand new C-130 in the bare metal paint scheme. And so this is what an aircraft looks like before it's painted. It just has this greenish metal. Sometimes it's gray for the composite materials, but it's green for the aluminum skin. And it's a really cool aircraft, and this is a brand new one. And interestingly enough, the brand new C-130s, or the C-130Js, share not a single component with the original C-130A. Not one part is the same on the C-130J as on the C-130As, which will start in production in 1955. So this aircraft's been around for a long time. They've adapted the aircraft to the current times, but it's still been a huge workhorse for militaries all around the world, and the United States military, of course, which is the military was built for. So it's really cool that these aircraft are still being produced to this day, more than 50 years later. And so it's been a very successful aircraft in that regard. And then next up, we move on to some photos from Red River Aviation. He sent over some from one of his recent spotting trips. And I believe this was his January spawn trip. They went in the snow when, surprisingly, Tulsa, Oklahoma got a decent amount of snow. I believe he said it was 9 or 10 inches, which is quite a bit of snow for that area, particularly in Oklahoma. Like, around here, 9-10 inches snow, nothing too special. We get that like once, twice a year, fairly normal. But down in Oklahoma, they like rarely get snow there during the winter anyway, so it's pretty amazing to get 9-10 inches. But he had some really cool winter shots here. We're going to start with some of the evening shots that you're seeing here. We got the United CRJ 200 right from Denver, and the PSA American CR9 from Dallas Fort Worth. Next up, we have a United CRJ 550. This flight came in from Chicago O'Hare, and because of the snow and how the snow reflects light, it makes the gray on the livery look a lot lighter, so almost looks like a light gray or even a white versus the medium gray that actually is. It also shows the dirt on the aircraft quite a bit more too. And a lot of people don't know this, but airliners are actually quite dirty aircraft. They get very filthy over time. But because of how far away they are, a lot of people don't often see the dirt on them. We have some private jet shots. Here we have a Falcon 50, which is around from Aspen. And we have Citation X, 2 from Cabo. Apparently this is the most popular destination from Tulsa for private aircraft. Not a big surprise, that's a really popular leisure travel destination for the area, and particularly private aircraft are often going on leisure flights for their wealthy owners. And then this Hawker 400A will be going out to Idaho Falls. The final aircraft we have here is one of these new livery ERJ 145s with the winglets, which is here from Houston George Bush Intercontinental. These aircraft are very rapidly getting repainted into this livery. I believe these are, I want to say, operated by Commute Air. I believe they are. The Commute Air ones are being repainted by, I believe, the ExpressJet, and I think there's one other operator of these aircraft for United. They're going to be retired, but Commute Air plans to keep these for a while longer, so they are repainting them. And I'm really looking forward to hopefully seeing one. We don't currently get them at Des Moines, so I don't know when we'll see them, but hopefully I'd like to see one at some point, somewhere. I'm always interested in seeing more new livery United aircraft, and hopefully that'll happen here soon. But yeah, United's repainting more aircraft. I do believe some of the paint shops are starting to open back up, so you will see more new livery aircraft, as well as United's getting a lot of CRJ 200s from Delta, and so they're getting sent to United and they're going to be painted in new livery. So that's why there's so many more new livery CR2s now for United. So that is it for the news for this episode. Just some channel news to end the episode here. You might have noticed I didn't have an Aviation News This Week episode last week. That's because of some things my job wasn't able to get to it. I would rather delay a video than have it be poor quality. So that's why this episode's essentially a week late. But that's why I do rather have better quality than have the video out on time. So that's what I'm doing. But we do have some awesome videos coming for next week. So I think you guys will really enjoy them. Also, I really want to thank you guys so much for the awesome support on the videos that we had the last 2 weeks. They've done really, really well, particularly by my standards, and I have pretty high standards for my own videos, so I'm really, really happy that you guys have enjoyed the videos I produced, including the best to worst place to buy model airplanes, the why I ordered 27 Delta CRJ900, that video did really well. The ATL update did pretty well, although usually the ATL updates do pretty well. And the German Jets release video did really well because, well, it's one of the craziest releases we've had in ages. And then the 9 model Mass Unboxing 3 did well, but the Mass Unboxings usually do pretty well, but this one did extra well. So I really want to thank you guys so much for all the support. I'm trying to make the best content that I can for you. If you have any suggestions, obviously leave them in the comments or send me a DM on Instagram. So, that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, have a great rest of your day, and God bless you.